this question is going to go to all the candidates. I'm going to be really mean to Sue Cook and start at that end. This is from Alice. What are your suggestions for celebrating two important events in 2012? The first is CILIP's 10th birthday, obviously incredibly important, and our royal patron, i.e. the Queen, her Diamond Jubilee. So what are your suggestions for celebrating those two important events in 2012?
Very interesting. Yeah, it's been quite challenging, especially given the fact that we've no finances at the moment. I think the first thing is to very much get the membership on board. I said earlier on about CILIP being member-driven, and this is right. I think this is an initiative where the membership need to have a high level of input. Obviously, things can be done at local level quite easily. Libraries are very, very good at celebrating big anniversaries and important occasions. In fact, we often remember things that other people forget. And we do it extremely well with very little financial input. What may be more difficult, given all the challenges that CILIP as an organisation has got centrally, is actually getting something off the ground at a national level. But I remember participating in an initiative quite a long time ago when I was managing the Central Library in Leeds. And we did a very simple thing. We opened the Central Library for 48 hours non-stop, and we did it in shifts. And yes, we had the odd drunk, but fortunately they were mostly amiable. Some of them were the staff that had been out celebrating and came back to see if it was working. But it was a very simple thing to do. And we went around the city centre, actually just stopping people in the street and saying, do you know this is happening? Would you like to come along? Would you like to join in this celebration with us? We got some sleep between about 3 and 5, and then it all kicked off again. But it was something that actually made people notice there was a central library in the centre of Leeds, which most of them had walked past. So there are lots we can do, and I think supporting and bandwagoning, if you like, on big national events is something that librarians are particularly good at.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Same question to Maria.
Thank you. I haven't thought about this before very much, but I was thinking about a different event, which we all know is happening this summer, which is the Cultural Olympiad. So I suppose you didn't thought of that, Alice?
I remember
a couple of years ago at Umbrella, we had a session on that in the international group. Yes, that's right. So suggestions similar to the ones that Sue was suggesting. For example, I had good friends in Slovakia. I sit on the Management of Library Associations section of IFLA, so I have contact with people in library associations all around Europe. And in Slovakia, for example, they do an annual sleepover in libraries, which is brilliant. Which is something that, for example, the British Museum does very, very frequently with children. And there's no reason why we cannot do it in all libraries around the country, because it's not that difficult to organize with the health and safety concerns and everything else. So what they do in Slovakia, for example, is they bring people on Hans Christensen's night, I think it is, on the anniversary of his birth or something. They bring children into libraries. They all sleep there, well, but they stay up all night, and they read. And apart from reading individually in the libraries, the national radio station broadcast all these lovely children's tales all night long. For 24 hours you can connect, and there is different people reading from different libraries, and the children love it, and the parents love it, and everybody loves it. So there is no reason why we cannot do things like that, as Sue has said very well, just to promote the value of libraries. There's been talks of having a National Library Day. We cannot ask Mark at the moment because he's doing another different role, but you know, there is lots of things that CILIP can do for the 10th anniversary and the Cultural Olympiad. And we can bring the Queen as well.
Thanks, Maria. So, Mike.
Yeah, thinking.
CILIP's 10th birthday, Diamond Jubilee.
Yes, fine. Well, thinking first of all about the Diamond Jubilee, I was very struck. Last night I was hearing about they're recreating the tree planting that was done for George V's Jubilee or something, and they're going to be planting millions of trees. and just thinking about where libraries are in terms of the tree of knowledge. And I wondered if there was something that where we could engage with the whole constituency to actually get librarians and their customers to create something around learning, around the tree of knowledge in each of those areas, and particularly to highlight how it's changed over that period. So there might well be something there which is both a historical record but also bang up to date. I don't know, that was my immediate thoughts on that. For CILIP's 10th birthday, haven't got very far with that one yet, but perhaps a virtual cake. We'll set Richard a challenge.
We love that.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, Sue Westcott.
I was thinking more of how you could create a virtual but perhaps physical story that would collect brilliant examples from different parts of the sector, so from the business sector, amazing things that have happened through the voluntary sector, all the different things that information professionals do for all the organisations that they work with, and collect those virtually and find some way of presenting that to the Queen as her kind of tribute as to what her professional body has done for her country and her nations abroad, that would actually also work as a way of us being clear about what we've achieved both as a professional organisation but also round about the country, and something we could talk to our employers about as well. So I think you could have it as a marketing tool as well. I mean, I don't know whether it would be a physical thing or a virtual thing or possibly both. Obviously, you know, I would like it to be expensively bound and presented at the most amazing party like the Booker, but we'll obviously have to cut our cloth to what's available at the time. But I think it's our imagination that should take flight there rather than the constraints of how we can actually make it happen.
Very popular, wasn't it? Okay, over to you, Liz.
Right, and my ideas are actually very similar to Sue's, and I really think we can't be doing anything that we've done before in the past. And I was beginning to think along the lines of how can we combine these two events, and I had thought of what we're good at. We're good at content and building even a website on the Queen's history, and how could we combine it with perhaps her passing the Royal Charter or gifting on at an event to 10 new professionals. So I actually think the best idea I've heard so far, and it was exactly along my thinking, is let's get really creative and do something really sexy. And I think we shouldn't see money as an object here, because I do believe there are people there that could help us sponsor something like that, and I'd love to be involved in doing that.
Thank you, Liz. We've got a few minutes before we're due to have the first break, so if anyone's got a question that would involve an incredibly short answer from each of the candidates, I have a couple I can think of, but if anyone from the audience does, now is your opportunity, or we can go into more in-depth Q&As after the break when we've got a bit more
Could
time.
I just make a comment?
Of course.
I seem to remember before we had the royal president, the same as we do now, that we had 1 year where the Duke of Edinburgh was
down on board in
yes, he was closely involved, so at least we're known, if you like. We won't be coming to the royal family completely sort of clue away. There's something there we can build on too.
I think, can I just say something here as well? I think that, you know, what we just talked about latterly there about some very high profile event is what we need to think of as a board, and not, you know, a lot of small events which are really useful, but we need something that's going to raise the profile with partners and with all those new professionals that don't see us as having any real value.
Has anyone got any other comments they want to make on this question?
I was just thinking the other obvious link or thing to bring in is the Royal Library at Windsor, which would be the natural virtual or physical home for whatever was created.
The King's Collection at the British Library, which the Queen actually gave to the nation in her the year she was crowned. It's the heart of the library.
Of royal manuscripts that the Queen opened this afternoon at the British Library.
Yes, yeah.
See, all the ideas are beginning to come out. It's just
I say we just have a brainstorming.
when here and involving the community, I think there's some potential to do some really fancy and clever here.